Like, excuse, we might switch it around. Look at the phone charger real fast. It's like, excuse me for that. My son ended up waking up. Now my might be back and forth, just going to, check on him, make sure, he's falling back asleep or whatnot. You know, all right, so we're gonna make sure it sound good. Nah, all right, so yeah, we good. All right, so first and foremost, I'm gonna start off by saying Barakatham, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. And I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shout out to the hopefully elect, star down and put up for 1,000. Shalom. All right, so, the title of this lesson, right, I titled it, The Beast That Was and Is Not and Yet Is, right? Just going into a little bit, in the book of Revelation, right, on hit chapter 17, and the precepts around it, we're going to hit chapter 13 as well, and chapter 18, right? But, yesterday I did a lesson, I titled it, Recompense Upon Babylon, right? And I ended up reading Revelation 17 and 8, verse 8. And the Spirit is on me, the Spirit is on me, to go into the chapter, Revelation chapter 17, right? Because we understand it, right? Since America came into play, it talks about before America came into play, America's going to go into perdition, right? So we'll start here in verse 1, right? And just understanding that, hey, if you don't get out the way of America, you don't get out the way of this world, you're going to be destroyed as well, right? And it's understanding the concept of, why Yahweh put America, put Esau, in charge of America and put them in this position, put them in that golden seat, right? Put them in that top seat, man. Everybody love the ways of America, right? He put them in there so they can, show the way of wickedness, and he can show the judgment behind following the wicked, right? So let's go. Let's start here, Revelation 17 and 1, right? It says, and and we're gonna go down to verse around about we'll read it, Lord willing, through the Spirit leaders, right? So Revelation 17 and 1 says, and there came one of the 7 angels which had 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show you the judgment of that great whore that sits upon many waters, right? Many waters is talking about the people, and that great whore is talking about Babylon, America, right? Right? America had the big influence on the world, had the allure to pull everybody in, the American dream, the American lifestyle. Everybody loved the ways of America, right? Verse 2, right? It says, with whom the king of the earth hath committed fornication. The inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of fornication, right? I want to say this, Proverbs 21 says, wine is a mocker, right? Wine is a mocker, really paraphrasing. When you understand that, spiritually, that wine is the doctrine, the ways, the philosophies, right? Everything that America pushes to allure everyone in to be drunk out their fornication of iniquity, sin. Because America don't do nothing but turn everything Yahweh Shai set upside down. They put it totally opposite, right? It said verse 3, right? It says, so he carried me away in the spirit to the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon the scarlet beast, and you're gonna understand that woman is talking about Babylon, right? It says, I saw a woman arrayed in purple and scarlet color, that with gold and precious stones, and having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations, filthiness of her fornication. And I remember when I was watching, even earlier before I did this lesson, I was watching Elder Apostle Ramla breakdown on Revelation chapter 17, right? And when you understand it, right, that scarlet color represents, her costliness, right? The riches, the gold, the silver, all the things, right? Let's go to Revelation 18. Read verse 11, right? It says, the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. It says, the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all down wood and all nine manners of vessels of ivory and all manners of vessels of precious wood and of brass and iron and marble. It says, and cinnamon and odors, ointments, frankincense, wine, oil, fine flour, wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and the souls of men. So these are the things, right? These are the things that America, that people receive from this place. Riches, right? These how these people get rich off this place, right? And they don't care. You know, it gives them so much benefit. They don't care about the consequences that come behind it, right? That's what America do, to see the whole world, have everybody drink off their wine, right? So that scarlet represents costliness, right? What, you know, the things that it come with, right? So Revelation 18 and verse 19, right, says, and they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping, wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city. That great city is who? Babylon, right? That great city. When you go up to Revelation 8, right, and Revelation 18, verse 10 says, standing afar off from the fearful torment, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for one hour was thy judgment, right? But as you read on verse 19, it said they cast on dust on their heads, creeping, weep, crying, slacking, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city. Talking about Babylon, which is spiritually America, right? Which is what is America, spiritually Sodom and Egypt. So wherein were made rich, all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For 1 hour is she made desolate, right? So they you know, they getting the riches and they getting the riches and all these things. America is getting helping these other people get rich. You know, that's what makes them drink of this wine, this wrath, this fornication. Right? I got some right here in my notes right here. That's how the nations are getting rich, right? So this is why they don't mind selling out and sipping of that cup, you know, the benefits that come with it, but also they look past the judgment because it has so many benefits, right? You see it, so that scarlet color, that scarlet purple color is the costliness of the riches and the things that America professes and gives, right? But that's why it also talks about in Jeremiah 51:7 that the nations are mad because they drunk of that cup and taking all these, you know, they was enjoying all the benefits, but now it's backfiring on them. So now the nations are mad, you know. Now the nations are going through it, but let's get back to Revelation 17, right? Verse 4 again says, the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, and having a golden cup in her hand. That golden cup is the wine, the wrath that they drinking of, right? It says, golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication, right? So they taking these things because she's giving them riches, she's giving them these things. America's offering all these things and is deceiving the people, having the people, you know, fall for it, right? And the people they're not looking at the judgment because it's going good for them right now. They getting riches, they getting money, they getting all these things, right? Right here, right, the purple and scarlet color represents their costliness, right? America's helped these countries get money so the other nations don't care about drinking of that cup, man. They don't care about it. But it's backfiring on these nations now, though. It's backfiring on them. But that's why the Most High set this place up, to deceive the ones who are supposed to be deceived. He go lead it right on. Lead it. That's why this is the melting pot. That's why America's is that melting pot, man. That melting pot is breaking the bones. It's breaking the bones of 2/3, right? Even ones who know they're Israelites. They fall in love with it, man. Of the American dream, the American lifestyle. They fall in love with the money, all these type of things, right? Continue reading on, verse 5, it says, and upon her head was written, named mystery, because it's a mystery. People don't, Israelites don't know who they are, right? It's a mystery. Israelites are lost out here, right? Babylon represents confusion, right? It says Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abomination of the earth, man, right? The mother of harlots, that great whore, right? That great whore is America. If you go to the book of Nahum, chapter 3, it goes into a little bit of that, right? It goes into a little bit of that, right? It's talking about it's referring to ancient Nineveh, but Romans 15:4. You know, those things that ancient Nineveh had going on, that's what America has going on today, right? That great whore, man. You know, like the example Apostle Rumlai used, and it stuck with me, right? Hit me in the spirit of how, you know, how on a pimp, you know, you have these whores, right? And out of all the whores, you have that one great whore that everybody loves. Might be for her body, might be for her face. It don't matter what it is, they love her, right? And that's the one everybody comes to and run to, right? Well, that's how America is. America is that great whore that everybody comes to and run to, man, right? The mother of harlots, right? Verse 6, right? It says, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, because look what they did to all the nations. So-called Indian tribe, you know, the Gad, right? You know, Trail of Tears. You know, they came with the Spanish coming over here, right? You know, the gold rush, kicking them off their land, all these type of things. Look what they did to all the tribes. Look what they did to Judah. Look what they did to all the tribes. Ephraim, right? Look what they did to all the tribes. You know, the saints, referring to, I want to say it's Psalms. I ain't going to read it, but I'm going to go to it to make sure I quote it right. Psalms, yes, Psalms 148 it tells you who the saints are. The saints are the Israelites, man. You know, the chosen people of Yahweh Shah, right? But it continue reading on, so I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, right? And that woman, once again, is America, right? With the blood of the martyrs of Yahweh Shah. When I saw her, I wanted with great admiration, right? So, they wiped out a good portion of our people, but Most High left a remnant, right? Look what all they did to the tribes, right? But the Most High have that remnant who gonna overcome, and who will overcome this perdition that's gonna come upon this place, right? So, verse 7, right? It says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, right? And of the beast that carried her, which have 7 heads and 10 horns, right? So when you understand it, that beast, those 7 heads, right? We're going to get into it more later, but you have the Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, right? The French, Germana Major, Germana Minor, and Great Britain, right? Then you have the 10 horns, right? That's EU, the European Union, what back then they were known as EEC, right? European Economic Community, right? Make sure I'm saying that right. Got it right here in my notes, right? Yeah, yeah. European Economic Community, right? 1958, right? Shalom, Yabashin, Shah, Rakathan to the brother, Rakathan to the brother, right? But it goes, read this precept again, right? Verse 7, it says, and the angel said to me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carried her, right? And you got to understand, these nations are, America never really separated from Great Britain. It just, they got the appearance of it and make it look like it, but if you understand that shadow government still calling the shots, right? And these European nations are carrying America on their backs, right? They're gonna get tired of carrying America and turn against her, right? But I got some of my notes I want to read, right? So the beast is going into NATO, EU, right? But all these nations are supposed to be a congregation together. But understand, America's in that top seat. America's had the top say so, right? Out of all these things, America has the top say so out of all of them, right? Like Elder Pastor always say, man, America get the cold, everybody else get the flu, man. America had that top seat out of all of them, right? Um, let's see, I don't want to touch anything in my notes, right? Yeah, but America's that dominant one, basically, right? So verse 7 again, right, says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore is thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, of the beast that carries her. Once again, that beast, right? EU, NATO, EU, right? But it's supposed to be together, but America is the most dominant. They all supposed to have the same say so, but America is that dominant one, man. Right? You can look into each war that America got in, when World War One, World War Two, each side of America got on, that's what side that won. You never really seen war on this land. You don't really see America got army bases all over. You don't see people having their army bases here, man. You know, but so I will tell the mystery of the woman. That once again, that woman is America, right? It says another beast that carried the EU, NATO. They're supposed to be a congregation together. All these Edomite empires, right? They come together, right? But America's in control of that because you understand America's in that top seat of the Roman Empire, which is going to go in that Revelation 13 in a bit, right? It said which had the 7 heads and the 10 horns, right? And this was and those 10 horns represent EU, the first ones, right? It says 12, but really 10, right? Because when you understand it, right, I want to say is, which one is it? Ireland and UK, they are one, but they separated them. You got Portugal and Spain, they're one, but they separated them two. That's why it's 12, but it's really the 10, right? So to continue reading on in verse 8, it says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out the bottomless pit. And this the piece I read yesterday, the hit me in the spirit to go and break this down, go more into it, right? So Revelation 17:8, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend that bottomless pit. Once again, yesterday we talked about that bottomless pit. It's Europe, right? But the beast that was and is not, right? And shall ascend out is talking about America, because when John had his vision, the Romans still, and the Romans were in charge. He writing this down. The Romans was in rulership, but they went away. But he see them, the Most High showed him in the vision, he see them coming back through America, right? You see them coming back to America. We understand America is that revised Roman Empire. Though America stemmed out of Great Britain, which we're gonna get to, right? But America stemmed out of Great Britain. America broke away from Great Britain, right? And when you understand that America is still, let me go to Revelation 16 real fast. America still has ties into that. Once again, though behind the scenes, they're controlling these things, right? right here, right? I'm gonna read this Revelation 16, verse 13, right? It says, and I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon. Even though that dragon is, even though that dragon is who? Right? The Roman Empire, which is today is America, right? It says, he said, and out of the mouth of the beast. Once again, that beast is EU, NATO, right? That congregation of those Edomite empires coming together, right? Which America is down there in control of all that, right? It says, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, right? So let's break it down, right? So so those three spirits, right? Got right here in my notes, right? Read it, right? So those three spirits, right? So you got the Pentagon, Washington D.C. That's the military headquarters of the survival of the empire, right? You got London, UK, right? The financial headquarters of the whole empire. Then you got Vatican City, right? And Vatican is really meaning what? Prophets of the serpent, right? Let's see, right? So Vatican, right? Prophets of the serpent. Vati go back to the Latin word Baptiste, which means prophet, and Can is the Mayan word for serpent. These are prophets of the serpent, right? So it says, uh, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, right? And you have the Vatican City is where the Roman Catholic Church, and where they created Christianity, uh, all these other things, right? But mainly they set up Christianity, right? When they took up New World Order, they came out, from being that dark, came out of being that, when they came out in that 1,000 years, right? When they came out from being like in that imprisonment, they came out and they see the whole world, right? You know, when they came out from Spain to here, this is what they came to America to establish that new world order. That's the reason they came over here. They try to act like Christopher Columbus ain't know what he's going on. He came over here to establish that new world order, right? Because they understand that they have a short time. That's why they trying to push so much. Because they understand our birthright once again. Them higher ups, Rothschild, all of the behind the scenes, they understand our birthright. They understand they gonna be in captivity under us, right? So the dragon right here is talking. The dragon right here is talking about London, which are the three city states, right? You got London City, right? You got London City, right? And when you understand it, you know, that's where the Rothschilds dwell, right? London City, right? It's different from UK London. London is in Great Britain, UK, the same thing, but and you got the city of London, right? He said the beast represents NATO, which we touched, right? America's that unofficial head of the beast, which comes out of Langley, Virginia, which is the Pentagon, which is in D.C., right? It says, for these are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth into the kingdom of the whole world to gather them to the battle of that great day of Almighty, right? So understand, the Most High allowed them to create these miracles, right? It's a movie called Upgrade, right? And they miracles right now, where they're showing right through that technology. It's a movie called Upgrade, to where a guy, he gets into a car wreck. His wife died, but he paralyzed. So they created like a little chip, like a little technological thing where you can put inside him, right? And basically like it talks and all that. And he can tell what to do, and it controls him, and helps him walk again, controls all his movements, right? These are these miracles. We understand they show these little gimmicks and games through movies or whatnot, but these are the miracles that Yahweh Shah allowed them to create, showing them miracles that deceive the people, which they're going to come even more when they come out with the chip. Everybody gonna want that chip. Everybody, because think about it now, people race to go get a new phone every time it drop, right? So why you think when that chip drop? Hey, when that chip drop, you ain't gonna need a phone, you ain't gonna need a wallet, you don't have to need none of that. People, all you gotta do is get that chip in your hand, you're gonna be good, right? These are the miracles of things that the Most High allowed them to create to deceive those 2/3, right? So look about Revelation 17, right? And verse 8 again, right? Saying the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. So it's going to go into destruction, right? You're going to destruction, right? It says, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life. Because if you're not of the elect, right, you're going to be destroyed. You're going to be caught up in this destruction that's coming upon this place, right? It says, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. So when you understand it, before America even came into play, the Most High said it was going to go into destruction. The Most High allowed this place to be set up so it can show the wicked, show wickedness, right? And when you understand it, even going back to the garden, that same spirit that was on the melanin man, that the serpent, that melanin man in the garden, right? Later came on Cain, right through the flood, came back to Esau, right? That same spirit, right, is back here today, right? And what that spirit do back then? Deceived, right? It was cunning, crafty, subtle, right? It deceived Eve, it deceived Adam, right? And it's when it says eat, I mean learn the ways of evil, right? So that same spirit here today to do what, right? teaching the ways of evil, teaching the ways of iniquity, right? And the ones who deceive from it, that's why Second Ezra chapter 7 talks about the world back then, you know, it was made wide, but the Most High made it narrow now. Because now it's basically free will over here in America. You can be whatever you want in America, right? You know, you can be whatever you want in America. It's spiritual side, you can be homo, all type of things, right? But it's those ones who gonna stay focused on the spirit, probably how about Shah in that narrow passage, right? But ever since America was set up, it was going to go into destruction. It was going to go into perdition, right? So let's continue to read on. That's what I'm touching thing in my notes right here, right? I'm reading this right here, right? So the bottom of the pit is talking about Europe, which we established, right? America stemmed out of Europe, right? Coming out from Great Britain, that demonic enemy, right? When the Renaissance was established and these different major Edomite empires were emerging, NATO, right? Because the Italian word for that, the Renaissance started in Italy, and the Italian word for NATO is born. So it's the rebirth of the Roman Empire, which is America today, right? It says establishing different major Edomite empires where emerging America stemmed out of all that, right? And it's that, and this is the eighth head, which we're going to get into, right? So this verse 9, right? It says, and here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, right? So this is showing you, right, the mountains are representing the governments, right? These mountains are representing 7 major governments among the European nations. This is why it's called the Scarlet Whore, the Great Red Dragon. The woman sitteth because they carry America, right? The woman, which is America, and the 7 mountains is a representation of the 7 major empires of Esau, beginning with the Greeks, man. You understand that this is all Edomite empires who established this European lifestyle, this bottomless pit that come out of Europe. They're all establishing together, right? But America was that. Come on, it just hit me in the spirit. When you understand it, man, it's playing to the holy, it's thumb back to the wicked. That's why they came over here to this place, right? To establish this. When the Renaissance happened, to establish this new world order, they needed an enterprise. They needed a place to establish it. So they sent the Spanish over here, right? It's all prophecy. See how they sent the Spanish over here, right? Deceive the northern kingdom, right? Deceive them, right? Take over this land we just got by the sea. Take over this land. Now they trying to establish that new world order. Because why? They understand they have short time. Revelation 12 and 12. They understand that this place is dying. They understand that it's over with. They understand that their next, they understand the next place they're going to be is in captivity under the Hebrew Israelite, beginning with the elect on down, man. Right? They know this place is going down here. That's why they trying to gather up everything. That's why they trying to get ready, man. That's why they trying to get ready. That's why I read Revelation 13. As you see, they trying to gather up and get everything together, right? So they can battle, go against get ready for that battle against Habash and Yahushua, which they're going to lose, right? They even going to be scared when Yahushua fill the sky, but the Most High is going to put that spirit in them to fight, right? But it says, here is the mind which has wisdom, the 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, right? In verse 10, right? Of Salakia, right? Matter of fact, when I read verse 8, I wanted to go to chapter 13 after I read verse 8 real fast, right? Because I want to go into how, America, America, when how I talked about how, it says, just like it real fast, at the beginning of verse 8, when it says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend at the bottomless pit. And understanding that America, when it's still not of Europe, but America, when John writing this, he's not seeing America, he's seeing America come in. He's seeing the Roman Empire leave, but he see it come back through America, right? So let me touch on that real fast in Romans 13, real fast, right? Then we'll go back to verse 10, Revelation 17 and 10, right? But this is Revelation 13. I'm gonna read verse 1 through I'm gonna read verse 1 and through round about 5, then I'm gonna jump down to verse 11, right? But this is Revelation 13, chapter 1. It says, "And I stood upon the sands of the sea, right? Saw a beast, right? Out of the sea, right? So this is John sitting on the island of Patmos, right? He's seen the beast come out of the sea, right? Having 7 heads, which we named earlier, right? The 7 heads, the Greeks, the Romans, the French, the Spanish, Germain the Major, Germain the Minor, Great Britain, right? Having 7 heads, 10 horns. The 10 horns represent what? The EU, the EC, or first it was the EEC, the European Economic Community, right? Established in 1958, but now it's known as the EU, the European Union, right? And upon his head, 10 crowns, right? The 10 crowns is representation of the rulership of those kingdoms that would rule, right? I got right here in my notes, right? Right, the 10 horns is representation of the kingdoms, right, that will rule in their physical kingdom, that will rule jointly with them, the European Union, right? Those Edomite empires coming together, right? And it says, and the blast upon his head the name of blasphemy, right? Because when they once again they came out of that, when they came out of that, that prison, right? They came out of that darkness, right? They came out and tried to deceive the whole world to make it seem like Yahushua is a white man, that the white people are the chosen people, right? They try to turn everything around, deceive the whole world, which they deceive a lot of people. They ain't gonna deceive the elect, right? Verse 2, right? It says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, right? We understand that Daniel chapter 7 when his name in the four beasts, right? When Daniel chapter 7 was naming the four beasts, right? That third beast was who, right? The let's go to that real fast. Matter of fact, was the Greeks, but we'll go to it real fast. Daniel 7, and I want to say it's verse 6, right? And it says, and I behold, right? It's the third beast, right? And I beheld, lo, another, like a leopard, right? That leopard is who's talking about the Greeks, right? Which had upon the back, which had upon the back of it four wings of a fowl, and the beast had also four heads, and dominion was given to it. And that's the four main generals, right? You have Ptolemy, Cassander, Seculus, and Antigonus, right? Well, this is the Greek Empire, right? So listen, now we understand that leopard is the Greek Empire, right? So let's go back to Revelation 13, right? And this, I'm bringing this out to just show you further prove the point of that, that that America that revives Roman Empire, right? Then we're gonna go back to Revelation 17 and 10, right? But this is Revelation 13 and 2 again. He's saying the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. The Greeks, right? And his feet was the feet of a bear, right? His feet was the feet of a bear. What's that bear? The bear is the Russians, right? The bear is the Russians because it's giving a sense of showing you that the Edomites came into power through the Greeks, the Alexander the Great, Alexander the Freak, Alexander the Greek, whatever you want to call him, right? We call Alexander the Freak, right? But understanding that they came into power through the Greeks, but they're going to be destroyed and taken out of power. Russia's going to bring destruction on them, man. Russia's going to bring destruction on them. When you understand, it's showing you the feet because the feet is what the ending of a body, and Russia's going to be bringing that end to this place as well. Russia's going to bring destruction on this place, man. And all the allies around, China, Iran, whatnot, they're going to come bring destruction on this place. And you kind of see it now. If you want to know, right, you kind of see the glimpses of it. You see how they be trying to be so cool with Russia, whatnot. But Lord willing, prophecy is gonna be fulfilled, right? You gotta be patient, let everything unfold. What you gotta be on that watchtower, paying attention, right? It said the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were the feet of a bear, and his mouth was the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and the great authority. And that mouth is referring to the British Empire because America gets its marketing orders from England, right? Not just England, but the city-state of London, which I mentioned earlier. You have London, UK. You have the city-state of London, right? And as I was meditating in the spirit, I did a little research on um, the city-state of London, right? So this is and the city-state of London is where the Rothschilds dwell, and I'm gonna go to that as well, right? So this is city of London, right? Not London, UK, the city of London, right? Refers to a small, ancient financial, commercial district, while London, or Greater London, is the vast metropolitan area encompassing the city of London, 32 boroughs, and the Greater London Authority, which serves the capital of UK. So you had the London, UK, which is the capital, but you had the city of London. Think of the city of London as a historic square mile within a much larger modern city of the Greater London, right? And I had searched up also. City of London is where the Rothschilds live, right? Let's see if we can pull it back up. Right, it says, while Nathan Mayer Rothschild first established his family and business at Newcourt in the city of London in 1809, the idea that the Rothschilds exclusively or primarily lived there, it says it's incorrect. But by the fact, what I was looking at earlier, it just said they've been here. Here it is. Right here it is. Right here it says the financial firm now called Rothschilds and Corporate has its headquarters in a new court in the city of London for over 200 years. Right, this is where they dwell. And this earlier, right, it's crazy because AI just switched it up. But just earlier, it was just showing me how they've been. It was just telling me about how they've been there for over 200 years, which I just read. But it was showing me more on it, right? But understanding, but the city of London is where the Rothschilds dwell, man. It's where they dwell at, right? We understand those shadow government that be behind the scene, right? Those the illuminated ones, right? Luther, right? Those Lucifer, right? The ones who sit behind the scene, the ones who call the shots for real, right? So let's read this again, right? And the beast, it was I saw was like unto a leopard, his feet was as the bear. The bear is the Russians, right? Right. His mouth was the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority, right? And that dragon is referring to a Roman Empire, right? It represents the Roman Empire, but because America is a rise Roman Empire, America's in that power seat of the Roman Empire, right? Once again, as I mentioned earlier, America never really got their independence from England, whatnot, right? They got the appearance of it, but behind the scene, that shadow government is still running things, man. Right? I just broke down to you of how the financial headquarters, the military headquarters, of all that of the survivors of an empire, right? You seen the financial headquarters is London, UK. You seen the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican City, man. Right? You gotta understand these things are still getting run behind the scenes. But these are things they don't want you to know, right? But the spirit, how about y'all shot, you know, and that's another thing where I want to go into this because I watched the lesson. It was going into how part of teaching this truth. Part of teaching this truth is Esau being exposed. So like him outside, we hear outside noise, right? But part of teaching the truth is that Esau is being exposed, man. Esau being exposed, right? They're let me go to that real fast. This is Jeremiah 49:12, right? It's like it, not Jeremiah 49 and 10, right? It says, "But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret place. His secret place is America. His place has been exposed. His place is going to go into perdition, man. Right? He should not be able to hide himself. He can't hide himself. They've been made bare. We exposed to all his gimmicks and games, man. Right? So let's go back to Revelations. Let's go back to Revelations, chapter 13, right? So reading verse 2 again, right? It says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet was like the feet of a bear, and his mouth was the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority, right? So that bear in this case represents the Russian Empire, because Russia is not part of the beast itself. Russia is what's going to bring the end to the beast, right? Russia and its allies, right? China, Iran, whatnot. They're going to bring an end to this place, to this beast, right? So the reason why I spoke about his feast because the Greeks was the beginning of it, right? The Edomite come to power with Russia was going to bring an end to it, right? The mouth is the representation of the British Empire because America get their marching orders from England, not just England itself, but the city of London, right? As we talked about, which is where the Rothschilds dwell, right? America never got the independence. They just got the appearance of independence, but behind the scene, you still got the shadow government running everything, right? Once again, that dragon represents the Roman Empire because America's in that power seat of the revised Roman Empire, right? So boom, right here, verse 3, right? It says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, right? When the Romans went out of power, right? It says that his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. What is that? Come on, that the mother of all lies, right? The revised Roman Empire. The Roman coming out was John saw Revelation 17, but he seen them coming back in, right, through America. So that deadly wound was healed through the Renaissance of the Romans coming back into power through America, right? It says, and they worshiped the dragon which gave power to the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who was like unto the beast, was able to make war with him, right? So this is how working on the left hand side. He put them in this position. He had made Babylon a golden cup, right? He put them in this position that they're in, right? He given Esau the power to build up these dragon-like kingdoms, right? For their fierceness, their keenness, right? And once again, right, make everybody worship that beast in that image, right? And eventually they're gonna come make everybody worship, take that chip. Revelation 13 and 16, which is in this chapter. They're gonna come. Everybody gotta take that chip and worship the beast, man, right? But so now let's jump down, right, to verse 11, right? Touch on this point, right? Revelation 13:11, right? It says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, right? It's talking about America, right? And he had two horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon, right? Those two horns represent the Democrats and Republicans, right? And those lamb, like represent like they care for you, the soft manner, like they have care for you, whatnot. Right, but it said they speak as a dragon, that draconian system. It show you they don't really care about you, man. The scripture said they speak their words as smooth as butter, but in their war is heart, and their heart is war, right? Verse 12 it says that he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. What was the first beast that had a deadly wound? The Roman Empire. But it came back through America, the revised Roman Empire. So he says exercises all the power of the first beast before him, because the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. Right? So everything America done mimics the Roman Empire. Because this is the revised Roman Empire. That's why John seeing in the vision, right, in verse 17, that's in verse 8, he's seeing in the vision when he writing the Romans in power, the Roman Empire in power, but he see it go away, but he see it come back through America, right? So let's continue reading on. Now we're back at verse 10, right? And it says, verse 17 to 10, right? It says, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. When he cometh, he must continue a short space, right? So we got 7 here. So these are the 5 that's fallen: Greece, the Greeks, the Spanish, the French, Germania Major, Germania Minor, which is Germany today. These are the 5 that was, that was under the rule of that one, which is the Roman Empire. When the Apostle John wrote this, the Roman Empire was still in power, even though that was the last year the Edomites ruled it. But Jake continued to rule after that through those pagan Roman ways, right? And he said, and the one is right is the Roman Empire, because when John had the vision, they were ruling, right? It says, and the other is not yet come, is the British Empire. They did rule, but that's for a short time, right? When it says, when he comes, he must continue a short space. That was the British Empire. That's how America was able to break away, because they didn't rule long, right? But once again, but behind the scenes, England is still running things behind the scenes, right? So let's establish this right quick. So you got those 7 heads, right? So you got the 7 kings, right? It's Greece, Rome, Spain, French, Germany. It's like Greece, Rome, Spain, French, Germania Major, Germania Minor, which is Germany today, and Great Britain, right? And you got to understand the 5 are fallen. Once again, you got the Greece, right? You got Greece, right? You got Spain, you got French, Germania Major, Germania Minor, right? Them were the ones who was under rule of the Romans at the time. Because once again, when Apostle John having this vision, writing this down, the Romans are still in rulership, but he see them go away and come back through America, which we're going to get to, right? So right. So once again, and it says, and that other is not yet come. That's the British. When he come, he must continue short space, and that's how America broke away from them physically, right? Because when they came, they weren't always established yet. So America broke away from them physically, but behind the scenes, once again, they still running things, right? It says, and the beast that was is not, right? Even he is the 8th, right? Who is that, right? Talking about America, right? It said, and it's of the 7th. Who's the 7th head? Great Britain. And goeth into perdition. So we know, man, through history, this is history they teach you in school. Where did America break away from? Right? Revolutionary War, right? Great Britain, right? So it says the 8th head is of the 7th head, right? And it goes into perdition, it goes to destruction. So America broke away from Great Britain, that 7th head, right? It said the 10 horns thou sawest, the 10 kings, the EU, right? It said, which have received no king as yet, but received power as king went out with the beast, right? Because, now there's like 30 of them, but it used to be 10. The beast is already in power. NATO, they came about 1959. The EU came 1958. NATO came 1949, but they was already in power, right? And once again, all these congregations of Edomite empires coming together, you got to understand, these when the Renaissance happened, right, it's history, right? When the Renaissance happened, it's like before the Renaissance happened, you had the Dark Ages when the Greeks came back into power. You had the Greeks come into power, you had the Romans, right? You had the Dark Ages when the Greeks came back into power. But when the Romans come back into power through the Renaissance, right? And when John's writing this down, they was already in power, and these other 5 was under them, right? So when they go out, right, and the Dark Ages come, the Greeks come back in power. They come back into power through the Renaissance, which is and they established NATO, right? They established this congregation, all these Edomite empires. But America is the revival empire, which is already in rule, but now it's back. So now it's back in rulership. So America is in that rulership, that ruler seat of the revival empire, as you said earlier, right? America's that dominant one. Yeah, they all have say so, but it's what America goes. What America says is what goes. America get the cold, everybody else get the flu, right? It says, these have one mind, shall get their power and strength unto the beast, Once again, right, the EU and NATO nations, they work together. The EU alliance, NATO alliance come together. But America is that top one, that great horde, right? Said these shall make war with the Lamb, right? And once again, I understand Russia is not part of that. Russia was going to bring an end to that. Russia is what's going to bring that war with that. And World War III pop off, you're going to see how shot come and bring destruction as well on all of them, right? It goes to Joel chapter 3, right? The Valley of Josaphat, right? It says, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is the Lord of lords, the King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. That's the elect. Right? They're going to try to make war with the house shot. He says unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are the people and multitude and nation and tongue. In verse 1 where it talks about, right, that great whore that sitteth upon many waters, that's that great whore America that sitteth upon all the people, because all the people glorifying the Lord by the lifestyle of America, right? You know, because America is that revised Roman Empire, right? So everybody's glorified and all these nations, all the kings of the earth, all these other nations, these presidents, whatever you want to call them, the king is just representing king, like not somebody who sit on the throne. A king represents like the president or someone who in charge of that establishment over there, right? You know, and but understanding that America's the Lord, all the men have everybody drunk out that fornication of Babylon, right? So it says, verse 16 says, the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, right? It shall make her desolate and naked, eat her flesh, and burn her with fire, as we were talking about earlier, right? You know, the 10 horns represents the EU nation, the beast, NATO, right? NATO was put together in 1949. The ECC was put together in 1957, 1958, right? Great Britain was part of the EU, but they broke away for economic reasons, right? Right? But there's some notes right here I got from Apostle Hart as well, right? They didn't let Ukraine in because it would be World War III. Even though it's going to be one anyway, they would have to step in against Russia, which Trump sided with them now. And you see, come on, it's prophecy, man, right? You see how it lined up, Revelation 13, about how Russia, or 13 and 2, how Russia is that beast is going to bring it in. That's why they didn't let Ukraine in it. Because they let Ukraine, you know, Russia and Ukraine going at it right now. If they let Ukraine in NATO, right, they got to go against Russia. Right? That's why America knows Ukraine, you can't get in. Right? That's why they don't publicly support Ukraine. Right? Because they know they'll have to go against Russia and they're trying to side with Russia now. Right? If you see how things are going. Right? But the whore is America. Right? It says, for Yahweh have put in their hearts to fulfill his will. Right? Prophecy. Right? Job chapter 33. Right? And eventually all things will be fulfilled. That's why you got to be in watchtower and stay focused. Right? And to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of your house should be fulfilled. So until Yahweh said to be done, boom, everybody gonna listen to the ways of America. America has been that golden cup. The Most High put them in that position. So therefore, when it's time, how everybody glorify America, how everybody glorify this big bully, this big beast, this big queen, right? The Most High gonna come make this place like a small fry, man. The Most High gonna burn this place up, and all the people who glorify and love it gonna be burnt up right along with it, right? So the Most High put certain patterns in these leaders' mind. That's what they do, right? And it says, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which is America, Babylon, that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth, man, right? So America is that great city. The UN building was donated by Rockefeller, where they all come together, right? Many times of the year to meet or whatever. America runs everything, as I've been stating the whole lesson, right? America get the cold, everybody else get the flu, right? Now I want to end with this notes right here, right? It says parables of dark sayings are symbolic. This woman that Apostle John saw that he that he admired wonderfully, right? And he was taken about her beauty. It's a representation of a city. That's why in Isaiah it's called the Golden City. They attract everybody. Everybody loves the American lifestyle. It's no clue that Esau running this thing, but you see they running it from America, right? And once again, it goes back to Job. I want to say that Job chapter 5, where they want to establish that enterprise. That's why they came over here to America to establish that new world order. They running all the things from here. That's why we understand in Isaiah, right, chapter 14, the president is just a puppet. Trump is just a puppet, right? Behind the scenes, they have these higher ups, Rockefeller, right, the Rothschild. They have these higher ups who call the shots, who get things done, right? And they push it, and they coming fast. They trying to push and exalt that new world order because they know they're running out of time, man. They know eventually that it's gonna pop off, and they're gonna be enslaved by us, man. They know this place is gonna be over with, and they want this place to last forever. Psalms 49:11. They want this place to last forever, man. Right, so Lord willing, the Spirit's on me to go in Revelation 17. Right, just pointing out, the Americans, they're rise over empire, but But before it even came into play, it was going to go into perdition. It was going to go into destruction, right? And as we read through the scripture, we understand that, Russia's going to be the one who bring that world war on them, right? We know when that world war pop off. We know that Yahushua and the angels going to come and finish him off, man. Right? The Valley of Josaphat, man. Going to gather them up together, right? He's going to cook them up, man. And the ones who left, we're going to tie them up and they're going to be enslaved, man. Right? So, matter of fact, got a good precept I want to end off with Isaiah 34 and verse 16. It says, "Seek ye out the book of the Lord Yahweh and read. None of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them." Right? Gathered the elect, gathered the prophets, right? But the point is, seek ye out the book of the Lord Yahweh and read, man. Seek ye out the book and read, man. Right? Because, hey, no one can escape judgment. And the judgment that's coming upon this place, if you don't depart from it, you're going to be caught up in it. Right? So, Lord willing, right, his lesson was edifying and exalting. Right? And I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shout out to the whole feed left, starting with the 124,000. Shalom.